Hi, this is Brian Rotello with Niagara Falls High School, and we are here for our third Talking Tuesday on Tuesday, March 16th, 2021, and it is a very special one this time. It is the COVIDversary. It is the one-year anniversary of the closing of schools due to COVID, and we have a special group here that we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have a conversation and talk about the struggles that we've been through and overcome through this last year and a half. With me, we have Miss Lakia Perry, who is a wonderful mother of our 10th grader Leah Strong, 10th grader and wonderful basketball player on our girls basketball team. We have Miss Karen Sowers, who's one of our science teachers, and we also have the wonderful Miss Kashara Jordan, who's a social worker here at Niagara Falls High School. People at home, if you are interested in asking questions or giving us your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, feel free to text us at 286-5461. Again, the number is 286-5461. And the very talented Mr. Ventry, who's off the camera, is going to be standing by, fielding us and volleying us those questions. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is this time last year. How are we feeling when we heard schools were closing? And I'm going to look to Leah first, hopefully not to put her on the spot too much. What were your thoughts when we were told, we got the announcement schools were closed?
Well, I was pretty much like wanting a break at first. And so when it first hit, I'm like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's not no big deal or anything. We're going to be out for a week. I'll get a week for a break. And then we can come right back in and then right with the schoolwork. Then it's like a week passed. I'm like, and everyone's saying, oh, we're not going back to school. I'm like, we're not going back to school? How am I going to learn and we're not going back to school? And then no teachers were contacting us or anything either. And so then they brought out, or we're going to do online for the rest of the school year. And I'm like, I'm an in-school student. I don't know how I'm going to do online. And I'm texting my friends, how are we going to do online? I'm hands-on. How am I going to do online? And then it was just really crazy from there, too.
So this was ninth grade, first year at the big high school, our biggest school in the district. You feel you're a hands-on, need-to-be-in-person learner, and they just told you, not going to happen this year. So I imagine it had to be pretty stressful.
I had to adapt quickly, too. Everything was coming. Then the teachers were sending out mad work just to get in the grades in the system, because we had to get grades in the system, even though we didn't know until after that we were going to get like exempt from them. And so that was a lot of pressure too. But then I quickly adapted, and then that's how I got through.
Okay, so hold that, because I want to talk to Ms. Sowers, one of those people sending that mad work. No, I'm just kidding. So how did you feel when schools were closed and we were getting direction? And
it was a little scary because being a science person, I realized that it was not going to be just a couple of weeks from keeping track of what was happening. So I knew it was going to be kind of long term. I was hoping we'd get back in May, but of course we were concerned about Regents exams and we didn't know, so that's why we're sending all that mad work for you guys to. And it's very hard to make a lesson that you do in person to put it online, and that was all of our first taste of how to use Teams and just how to get a hold of kids. Like a lot of us had Reminds to begin, like messaging systems, but it was really hard just to get a hold of kids. So all of that was just trying to make contact with kids. It might have seemed like we're sending a lot of work, which we were, I agree. But, we were just trying to keep some semblance of normalcy. And, it was scary. I'm sure it had to be terrible for you guys. We were all worried about it. And then there was that whole packet situation where we knew we couldn't make 1 billion copies and send them to people. It was scary. It was definitely scary.
Well, and Leah, you hit a good point when you talked about, we weren't sure if we were going to be giving the Regents exams. So, taking some Regents classes or some classes where there's going to be a state assessment at the end, that probably worried you a little bit, and I think it may have worried, Ms. Sowers, to make sure her students were somewhat prepared for that.
Right. It was a little off because I was wondering, I'm like, am I prepared enough? Am I going to do good? Even though I usually do good on tests, but at the end of the year, I'm saying to myself, I'm not really in it. I didn't learn, like, in school, everything I was supposed to learn. even though we had got through most of the year, I didn't learn everything I needed to. So I was wondering if we're going to take the exam or if I'm going to do good on it, or are they going to exempt us from it because we didn't get the whole year to ourselves?
And did you feel that from closing to the end of the school year? Like, was there ever a point where you felt like we're going to be okay, or did you feel because it was closed the whole time that it was always going to be kind of stressful? Were you stressed out kind of that whole school year?
At first, I definitely was. And then the teachers, and then like she said, the teachers had to adapt too. It was all new to them. And so I was saying to myself, okay, so it's new to all of us. Let's just get on a nice organized train, and then we can just go right through it. And so that's what happened. Everyone got organized. My team got organized and sending out work. I knew right when they were going to send it out, how were they going to send it out. They were texting back, and then we were talking, and then it went right through.
Are you sure you're only in 10th grade? Because you're pretty mature. Very mature. I think that's a wonderful mindset. I really do. So, Mom, your daughter's in 9th grade, right? The big school.
Forward thinker.
Yeah, you're forward thinkers in 9th grade.
Yeah.
And then you hear in March, schools are closing, you know, everything's going remote, you know, and you we were just talking off camera, you had to work, and, you know,
Yes.
how did it feel when you first even heard that? What was going through your mind?
Well, same way she was thinking. We was like, oh, this is gonna pass. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something that's just, you know, just gonna affect us for a minute, then things will go back to normal. And actually, we were in Myrtle Beach because we had already a family like vacation scheduled, and so we went. And while we were there, you know, we just kept getting like feeds from our family, especially my mom, from all her friends. My mom was older, and we were hearing how the older populations were passing, and so she was getting scared, and so we decided to leave early because we didn't know what was going on, and we only stayed we wanted going home. And then I have 4 home that are teenagers, so just imagine that. And then I have a daughter in college, and so when all the schoolwork had to be done and needing computers and laptops, and we only had like 2 in the house at the time, so it was a little chaotic, you know. And then on top of it, working 2 jobs, and I do real estate, so people were still trying to shop to buy a home, so they did but no one could go into the home, so the restrictions are no one were able to go into homes anymore, so except for the agents. So I was doing video recordings, you know, to show people homes. And then the parts and the other job I worked, it was considered essential, so they were open as Ace Hardware, so they were open, and people were getting cabin fever and going out shopping. So it was hectic. So they're home, I'm at work, they're calling me, arguing. Then, you know, we can go into that.
Well, not Leah. Leah would never argue.
That's a whole other story.
Leah would never argue. Yeah.
I talk a lot. That's why I argue.
She's like the mother bear of everybody. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so it was definitely, so it sounds like all 3 of you, definitely, and all of us on this stage, definitely different stressors, but all for the same reason. And it's really just the unknown. And Leah, you made a good point about adapting, and you know, we had to adapt. So Kashara, you know, for you putting your social work hat on, this was another big change. You went from dealing with maybe not a small, but a large group of kids that are dealing with some form of trauma, where now essentially the whole school body and staff are dealing with this sense of trauma. It's a big change in people's life. Like, how did you take this, you know, from a social work perspective? And, you know, how did you feel about now this role of, you know, you might be stretched pretty far?
So honestly, I was a little bit stressed out myself. So keeping in contact with my friends and my fellow social workers, that kind of helped things a little bit. But I think I was more so stressed out because I'm worried about kids, worried if they have food, worried if they have like technology. Like a lot of parents don't have Wi-Fi. A lot of parents don't have computers and things like that. So I think that was my biggest stressor, and just the overall trauma. Students who, you know, have abusive parents, alcoholic parents, things like that. So I was worried about all of those factors.
And it's, you know, having students or students out of sight, you know, we're really hoping that they answer the phone or they answer a chat or a text message. Well, not even chat. Most of our students weren't using Teams like we do now.
Right.
Or you know, our messaging software was a lot less. Now everyone's kind of using that. So yeah, so I imagine that was definitely pretty hectic for you.
Yeah, I was using like a text app on my phone to get in contact with students. So I'm like trying to I'm like, should I save these numbers? Should I not save the numbers? And then parents are calling at like 5 o'clock and I'm answering, like I'm out on a run trying to get some self-care in. And it was hard to like leave work at work after hours, especially like we're in a pandemic. People need support. So I felt like I was kind of like obligated to answer. And I felt bad if I didn't. I'm like, in the middle of a run, one of my students is like, she was going through a crisis. So I'm like in the middle of a run, trying to catch my breath, talk to her grandmother. It was hard.
So self-care, it sounded like, went by the wayside
Oh, yeah.
for you a little bit. And I'm going to turn back to you guys. You know, now we have that, as a family dynamic, we have that space being away from each other at school and at work. Now we're all on top of each other, and I could say that with two young children, and probably I know them and my wife more than most. You know, self-care, you know, and this kind of goes for everyone. You know, what was the self-care, at least in the beginning, you know, and did that change throughout? Were you able to kind of just try to manage through it or push through it? And then when did you realize that this was not going to end in May or in a few weeks? What was the next thought process for that? That's open to anyone.
Yeah, well, we had to separate them. I had to, me and their dad, we had to talk about it because there was some animosity, some tension, to say that, more tension going on in the home. And so half went with him, half stayed with me. And then extra tension came and some went to my mom. So like, okay, that one has to go all the way. Go get away from all of us. And so then eventually we all were able to relax and, you know, begin to have conversation, and which we do. And after it all, it really brought us closer together, I believe, because after we just started having more conversation, dialogue about, you know, different things that has always aggravated each other, you know, and just brought us back together, you know, again. But in first, no, we had to, the self-care was to separate.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that, and I was grateful for that. So that's the way we handled it.
Leah, how'd you take care of yourself?
Well, it was
Besides beating up your siblings.
It was hectic. It was hectic. It's like, you know, sometimes you want to get away from school, and a lot of it overpowers you. But then for kids too, it's your safe place. You get away from all your family, and then you can see your friends. Even though you didn't like the schoolwork, but you could see everybody you wanted to see, and then you come home, and then it's just you come home for a little bit, and then you go back. No, you're coming home. And we didn't know that we were going to stay home. There's no going out. There's no really going to your friend's house. Everyone's scared, and it was a lot.
Yeah, because we were a busy family.
Yeah.
Everyone's in either a sport, or we're at church, or we're at work. So, so we didn't see each other much until dinner, and then dinner time, and then sleep. You know, so we weren't used to being all locked up together.
So hearing, you know, when you talk about sports and churches, those definitely, you know, those got impacted, right? Sports were canceled. Places of worship were either reduced or essentially closed. Was it the disruption in routine, or the fact that you lost choice in what you were kind of allowed to do or go to, or kind of a combination of both that really impacted you?
I feel like a combination of both, because you couldn't do anything. Like, we were a busy family. We would go out to eat, go travel. She'll take us on a road trip once a month just to get out.
Yeah.
There was no road
We had
trips.
to.
No going out to eat.
Yeah.
There was no going to spend time with anyone. You're just sitting home, trying to watch a movie. And then your safe place wasn't even school. It was being in your room alone. And then you have your brothers and siblings knocking on your doors. Come out here, I want to play. No, I don't want to play. I'm trying to have some alone time right now. I need some time to myself to rejuvenate, to get my mind right. And then that's how it really was.
Oh. Now, Ms. Sowers, kind of going back to what Leah was saying, talking about being in a safe place, kind of being by myself, and I think what we're seeing, at least I'm observing in the schools, is we're seeing a lot of students isolated. They're okay with just kind of being by themselves, walking alone to class. Are you noticing that, or is
Absolutely.
that, you know?
It's probably the one thing that is the most noticeable difference in class is kids just don't talk to each other. They have a hard time even responding to adults. I think they feel like with the mask on, they can't talk, but there's so little socialization. Even though you're, 8 feet apart, you can still talk. Like, they are so isolated, and it's very concerning to me. It's just different,
Sure.
You used to have to try to get them to stop talking, and now I can't even get them to talk.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I'm sure there is more than one thing at work there. It's the isolation, it's the fear. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's good.
Shara, what are your thoughts, kind of?
So I've noticed it. Like, I have a few new students that are new to the building, and they're just like, they're having trouble making friends. Like, how do you make friends in a pandemic? It's not like you can hang out with them. And then the mask is like, who are you? Like, I don't even know who you are. You have a mask on. So that part of it is hard. I've been trying to get a lot of my students to join after-school clubs so that they can make friends and actually socialize, because it's a safe space. You can wear your mask. You can social distance. But it is hard for students.
Yeah. Do you think some of our students, and Leah, I'd like you to chime in after Ms. Jordan, lose their sense of identity with half their face covered with this mask?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And then it's like, if you want to make a friend, you can't get too close. Like, how do you talk to someone 6 feet apart? Honestly.
Yeah. Those social cues we talk about, safe space, looking at each other, kind of eye contact, being near each other, is now been all redefined.
Yeah.
And Leah, like I said to Ms. Jordan, do you feel you lose a sense of identity with all these restrictions and these limitations that we have, and especially wearing a mask?
Yeah. Well, I'm a talker, so I like to talk a lot. And so
And you're doing a great job, by the way.
In class last year, I was a talker, open, anytime I wanted to say something, said it right there. And then now I'm in class, and I'm just a little more quiet. And then my one teacher is saying, is anyone going to say anything? Is anyone going to talk? And then that's when I take it upon myself. Okay, I'll say the answer. I'll give a shot. And then now I'm like, now is anyone going to say anything? Is anyone going to help me out? I can't keep answering myself.
Yeah.
Then that's how I like meet new people. Then they're like, oh yeah, she's open. She likes to talk.
Yeah.
She's going to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Well, that's good. So, Mom, as a mom, have you noticed differences in your children and how they interact with others, or how they just interact just in general?
All of my children have their own personality. No, they're still themselves, I
Good.
think. I do. I think they've actually just become more open with me, from just conversations. I'm enjoying seeing their personalities, actually, because we go so much. Now it's like, okay, now I'm able to sit down and hear them, really like listen and learn. And so, I think they're actually themselves still, to be honest, because they give me the same, same stuff they were giving me before. It's the same. So it's just more, just depend on what child we're discussing.
We won't go there further. We don't have that much time.
Yeah, right.
But so it sounds like with your family, at least, is that you were able to slow down and really appreciate your time together.
That's it.
And it sounds like this is almost there's some positive, there's some silver lining in this wild life that we're living right now.
And they know, I've always taught them, I want them to know that we're a family. I've always pushed, I was the only child growing up, so to have a big family, I said, no, we're here for each other. I want us to be close. And that's what it brought. It had to take this for it to happen, unfortunately. But that's the one thing I can definitely say, take out of it, is that it brought us closer together and get to know each other as a family.
And that's great. I mean, that's the best thing I think we can get out of this, right?
Yes, for sure.
Now, Ms. Sowers, thinking about that, so we talk about, you're seeing this general, the students are more isolated, they're having a hard time. How do we get out of this, or how do we adapt to this in forms of education? Because the one big thing we always want with education is engagement and interaction. We always want our students to talk and share their opinions and show us what they know, and we're not seeing that in a large group. What do we do?
I don't know. For me, you see that when kids work together in groups, they've really learned so much from each other just from doing one little task together. And we haven't been able to do that in classrooms. So that's missing. We need to get back to that, to a place where we can have 4 kids figure out a problem sitting at a table together. I mean, if you had to do that in class right now, they would be so uncomfortable just being in that close proximity, even with masks on.
Yeah.
I think it would be uncomfortable. But I think we need to do it. I think we need to try it when it's safe and when we can. I think we need to get kids back to working together, and even if they just sit around complaining about whatever I'm asking them to do, at least they're doing it. It's helpful. So I really believe we need to get back to having kids together and figuring things out.
Kushara, same question goes to you. How do or what do you see as a way we can start moving towards that? And Leah, Mom, you're next. So.
I also think just getting creative. Like, I know you guys use Teams on the certain days where they're not in school, maybe even like a breakout room on there or something like that. That could just be, a good suggestion, but it's hard because kids will not feel comfortable. And then they'll be like, oh, we're not social distancing in class. So then you have that aspect of things as well. I think just with time, things will get better. Yeah.
And like I said, I was going to go to you guys, but how long do we think that time is? When, does anyone have a good idea or good estimation, or how much? How much more can we handle? I guess would be the next question.
Before people just go crazy, they're tired of home, tired of living there. It's too much enclosed. You want to get out. You want to go travel. Like I've been wanting to go to Europe and all these places. She won't take me. It's still a dream. I still
gotta dream it to believe it, right?
Take it till you make it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've been trying to go and wanting to go, but you can't go. Everything is on lockdown. Even Canada. We used to go to Canada like twice every 3 months just to go to Skyline View over there in Clifton Hill, just to go to the water park. Canada's been closed for so long. We've been saying, when is it going to open? When is it going to open? Just to try to get over there for some fun, but it's not really.
No, yeah.
You just don't know.
Sure, and you kind of hit a point of that stress. I think we're definitely seeing people react to this differently. Leah, are you seeing friends that maybe were more outgoing and energetic pre-COVID? Now COVID's taken, they have some stress and they're dealing with things differently, and maybe they're more anxious, or they're showing those signs of kind of depression. Are you seeing that with your friends?
Yeah. Like we're used to be always talking, always outgoing, like a lot of my friends, even though there are some more quiet than outgoing. But now they're more quiet, or their whole personalities change sometimes. And so then the anxiety picks up too. So they don't really want to talk, or they want to be calm and laid back. And so I'm trying to bring the outgoing out of them. Come on, speak. Let's go. Hyping them on. But yeah, it's a little different. And then trying to make new friends that are now have anxiety too with talking or being too close. And so it's really trying to bring out of them what they had, or trying to get them back in that safe place where they were.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, she started I don't know if it's a blog, unless she didn't want me to mention it, but something, what do you call it? It's educational, it's not motivational or inspirational. Something she started doing. Share that with us.
You got her now, Leah. Now we're interested. Viewers are interested. I think we just got 20 more viewers just when that was said.
No, I just started expressing myself more, or my opinion more, because I felt like it could help, or trying to be someone's like therapist, but like just like it's better when it comes from a peer sometimes instead of an adult, because sometimes students feel like the adult doesn't get you, and so it's better coming from a peer because you feel more connected with them. And so that's what I've been trying to do, or post things that are relatable, so you feel that someone is actually getting you, someone is actually feeling you, and it can bring you up, because now you see that they have come out of it, so now you can do the same thing because they were once where you were.
You are amazing. So make sure we say that over and over again, so people just chime in, they hear that. And I think that's great. And you really hit a very big point with COVID. We can't get you. Like none of us have ever lived through this as in your shoes as a student, even just as a student, not as Leah. So I think it's wonderful that you've recognized that, especially at such an early age, and not only recognize that you're trying to do something about it. And that's really amazing. And I know Mom's proud because she brought it up. But but Mom, how's work? You know, the work. How are your colleagues? I mean, how are they? Have you seen people go from outgoing to kind of this very nervous and worried?
Okay, so the majority of my colleagues were on the side of, oh, this mask thing, I'm tired of it, I just want it to go away. They just, they barely wanted to wear a mask. So that's that. Then there were some of the families, and then we're more, and not just, we're faith-based. So for us, we just trust God, so that's basically our foundation. So from that, when things started getting rocky and seeing more deaths, we were being careful, still being, very mindful of what's going on. But even my clients for looking for homes, they wanted me out there. So I went out there, had my hand sanitizer, my gloves, my mask, my boot covers, shoe booties, and I'm out there, let's go, and making sure everyone's safe. But no, they wanted to continue with living their life, and I, you can only respect that, because are we going to sit here and die? No, we have to continue to live. And then if it happens, then God forbid, but we hopefully push forward. So it was, I had one side was very intense and the other side was, I'm tired of this, so, and I'm in the middle, like, okay, well, let's just try to keep it together, and take care of our families the best that we can during this time, and still work and take care of, just do what I can.
Yeah, well, and that's a great approach to it. It really is. Ms. Sowers, Ms. Jordan, how are the educators that you interact with? How are your colleagues? What were their thoughts?
I think it was both. Like, I had some who were like, this isn't real, this is a joke. And then I had others who, like, this is very real. Like me, I've had family members pass due to COVID. So, like, hearing them say, like, oh, this is a joke, I'm not going to get it, I can't catch COVID, was just like a slap in the face, and it was kind of getting, like, annoying.
Yeah.
So that was hard to kind of deal with, especially when you want to stay connected to people, but then you have, like, the conspiracy theorists, like, oh, the government is doing this, and I'm just like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic where we're dealing with a stressful time in this pandemic, and now we had to somehow control our emotions because we have very far extremes on opinions, right? And you have to somehow be calm, cool, and collected, and professional, especially in the professional
Right.
life. Yeah.
Especially,
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
especially with the coverings. I had actually started wearing the shields, and it was, oh, that's not safe enough. But I'm like, well, it's safe enough for me. So, you always had, difference of opinions, from different things. But you respect, for me, it's just basically everyone just stay respectful. But it was challenging for a little bit.
Sure, and I think that's a good point, is that information was very fluid, right? What was said last week may not have been as accurate as the next week. And from, I guess, the science teacher perspective, how did that make you feel? And how did you deal with the people who were always trying to say, they said last week
I
that
know.
this is okay, and,
It was frustrating because you want to stay up on the latest, but it was depressing to watch the news. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you kind of have to put yourself on a news diet just because you can't deal with it.
News
you
diet,
know?
I like
And it's like, okay, that's enough. But you still want to know what's happening. It's all, I think the whole thing's about balance as far as education. We have people who are, gung-ho, we got to get through the whole curriculum. And then, other people are, in September, we were supposed to be worried about the mental health of kids and their well-being. But then there's some point you're here every day, you're like, okay, well, we can learn this. And, we've kind of all progressed, me included, to, sometimes I look at this and I think, am I pushing these kids too hard? Is this too much for them? It's, and everybody's in a different place. So it's very hard to figure out, do I push more academics? Do I figure out? It's very hard to figure it all out.
Yeah, and
It's tricky.
It's funny you mentioned news diet. My son, I have a 6-year-old and 8-year-old. My 8-year-old would wake up with me every morning and watch the news, and I kind of had to put him on a news diet because he started telling me the total deaths of COVID. And
Right.
I appreciate him interested in the news, but
Yeah.
I don't need to hear
I
him
didn't wanna
about,
hear it,
have him hear about deaths, because
Yeah.
he also wasn't conceptualizing what was being done to try to
Right.
prevent those, yeah. So, yeah,
To
it's,
tip off what she said about the mental health of the students, it was a lot. It really was a lot. And so us trying to communicate with each other, you really had to watch what you said sometimes. People like, sometimes if you thought, oh, I think it's okay. I think everything is going well, but in your friend's house, everything is done. Everything is shut down and chaos in their house. So it's, you can't really say, or they might feel like you're bragging or you're privileged because you're having, okay, nice, smooth in your house, and then they're going through things.
sure.
You really have to watch everyone's mental health in this because your friend may not be at the same level you are. Sometimes they may need a break, and you will have to respect that and give them that break.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Leah, do you think from COVID helped you be more kind of reflective of that or mindful of that about your friends' mental health and kind of well-being?
Yes, because I'm very opinionated. So
You've said that.
yeah. I used to think what was my way was the way it was supposed to go. I didn't really care about how someone else was, even though I cared about how they were feeling. But in my mindset, it was, yeah, I think I'm right. But now it's, no, Leah, you have to really think. You have to really give time to someone else. You have to see how they are feeling because they're not always right.
Sure.
They're not always feeling the same way or feeling good. Sometimes you have to be that motivator. You have to. That's why I started making posts because sometimes people need that motivation.
Yeah.
They're not always doing okay, so sometimes you have to be that person or want to be that person.
Sure, and that's great. I think sometimes people just need to know that there's someone there just to say, I hear you, right? So from what Ms. Sowers was talking about, like pushing academics, pushing social, emotional health and well-being, not speaking for everyone, but speaking for you, where do you feel, I guess, then, and where do you feel now as far as what do you think the emphasis of schools should be?
I can't even tell you. At first, you really didn't know what was going to happen. You were going to come in school. I started off at 2 days. You're going to come in school the 2 days, and then 8 synchronous work the other 3 days. And so you're switching back and forth, but you had to adapt to it at first too. And so you're getting online. Okay, now I have to figure this out. Now I have to see when this teacher is going to post work, when this teacher is going to post work, when I have to send it in because there's all different sending times. And then you're going in Thursday, Friday, and then coming back and doing the same thing. But I'm a hands-on person. I would like to be in school, so that 3 days was not working for me. And then I switched to 4 days because I wasn't on top of my work. I was just slacking and letting everything go, unmotivated at all. And then I switched to 4 days, and then it got me back on track. It led me to do my work more, being motivated. Now that I was in school, being able to learn, being able to be with friends, I was more open, and then now this is where we are.
And Mom, do you want to add to that a little?
Well, yeah, because she's the one that came to me and said, Mom, I need to be in school 4 days. And that when your child says that, I'm like, okay, let's get you in there.
Yeah.
And I said, your brother's going too. So
He probably thanked you for that, right, Leah?
So, because, they are more hands-on. And that, getting out the house, having that safe space and, getting away from, everyone that's helping. My other daughter, she's at another school and she goes every day. So I think she made that call for herself, and I was proud of her doing that. But, you just hoping that in the future, kids do need more of the hands-on in, in the class interaction. And I guess my suggestion would be, you were saying about how to get the kids more interactive. Yeah, and for me, my kids, like she said, I like to keep them active. I like to celebrate each other. We have our group chat, and someone gets a good grade, and we're celebrating each other. Maybe finding something to help motivate them by celebrating their small, victories, things that are going on good in their life, or a good grade, or whatever it may be. But we always try to keep each other motivated and celebrate it, let them know that they are important. So maybe, pulling that out, or maybe just creating something to grab their attention personally that can get them motivated to, get more involved, more interactive.
Great. And I was getting cues from my multiple bosses that we might have some.
Oh, we had a question?
Do we have some questions and thoughts here? Sorry, we get carried away here. If anyone knows I can sidetrack anything, so I apologize for that.
I did not want to interrupt because the conversation is amazing. I want to try that diet you guys were talking about. What diet? What kind of diet is that?
News diet.
Oh,
not a food
news diet. Oh.
But you and I both eat, but that's a whole other conversation.
Need a couple diets. So this one came in a little while ago. But, just looking for an example of one difficult situation you experienced and how you managed it. So I think that's an open question to anybody. Does anybody know of a specific situation that you had to endure and that you lived through, or feel comfortable sharing? Yeah, and how you managed that.
Oh, no. Well, go ahead, babe.
I feel a thing that we had to overcome was the death rate. It was shocking. And so to learn about that, and if you're next, are you going to catch the virus? Are you going to be next, or your family member? It was shocking. And you didn't really want that to happen. You didn't really want to come in terms with it and really see it, that it was that close. It was that close to you or your family member actually getting it, and one of us being taken out of here.
Sure.
It was really close.
Yeah, and I unfortunately experienced two losses, one right at the onset of COVID and one this past December. And what's unfortunate is that the way, you're used to having wakes or funerals, even just people paying respect, that wasn't around. People could only either walk through, or at one point really no one could. It was a private viewing with just the family members, which makes it really hard, because I think you hope for, when you talk about celebration, you talk about being a person of faith, that celebration of life. It was not a celebration. It was a very somber moment, and it was just unfortunate. So it was definitely something I think that was a struggle to try to comprehend, because it was the last time you would see someone. And I know you said, Kashara, a friend of yours had some family members pass away, and I imagine they had a similar struggle with that too.
Yeah, one of my family members actually passed away around like July, so nothing was like really open, but it was like, so we weren't able to have like a funeral or anything like that, so that was kind of tough. Like our family, like immediate family just got together, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I imagine that was tough. I understand that, I could empathize with that. Yeah. And Leah, I think you discredit the struggle you went through. Is you recognized, the 2 day a week, this structure that our school district created to make people safe. It kind of slowed you down or hurt you a little bit academically, and I mean that probably had to be a tough choice to recognize that you had to go. You felt that you needed to be in school 4 days a week.
Yeah, I didn't even know we could do 4 days a week until I was in art class, and my teacher said, "Oh, you go 4 days a week." I was like, 4 days a week? We can go 4 days a week? She was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I need to get right on that," because this 2 days is really not working. That 3 days is really killing me, because I did not touch teams 3 days. I went Monday, I'll do it tomorrow. Tuesday, I'll definitely get on it tomorrow. Wednesday, then it's the online. Okay, I'll get in the classes, maybe not touch it after the classes are done. And Thursday, you're right in it, and then now you have to catch up on all that work from Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and it was a lot. I knew I had to get in.
And I guess, and that's a great point. I look to you, Ms. Sowers, when we talk about, the educational struggle. So you go from this leader in the classroom with your kids 5 days a week, and, you can really see them and work with them, and you have a good grasp of who gets it and who doesn't, or who's just putting their head down, going to sleep.
Right.
Now you see them twice a week, and you're hoping, what? I mean, how do you, that's a struggle. How do we
Hoping
deal?
is it,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that, and I knew it was going to be difficult for kids being home. You have to have structure. You have to have a lot of self-discipline to make yourself work when there's so many other fun things to do, right? You have nothing fun. I mean, you're in class. You got to do the work. But it's hard. All you can do is communicate and keep telling the kids. And I tried to make my assignments interesting and short so they would at least do it. And once kids started doing them, it was okay. But one of the things that really struck me early on, because we were all getting used to teams too. So, I would walk around, and the first couple weeks of school, I just did teams in my classroom to get kids on it. I had no idea that and I don't know all the fancy words for all the things, but on the way, like you can click on your team, click on assignments, and just your science assignments come up. But there's another tab you can click on that's just assignments, and it's all the assignments that you have. And when I saw kids doing that, I'm like, don't do that. That's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just pick one class and do that, and then go back and do the rest. Literally, there were like 20 things on there. And so if I'm a kid and I'm not too motivated to begin with, if I see 20 things, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Right? I mean,
Well, and I know a lot
that's
of
human nature.
Yeah, and a lot of us administrators, we would meet with students and parents, and because the student maybe is falling behind, and the majority of the response was, I was so far behind,
Yeah.
I couldn't catch up, so I gave up. So it was I couldn't catch up, I gave up, and then how do we now tell them, oh no, you weren't that far behind.
Right.
You're far behind now, but don't worry,
Right.
there's still hope. I mean, it's building that hope, and I think that's really, really tough.
I try to encourage kids to just reach out to your teachers. I'm like, they're more understanding than you think. Reach out to them, see if you can make up old work from like the 20 weeks and just ask. And they're like, okay, Miss Jordan. Then they come back and like, oh yeah, she let me make up work. And I'm like, I told you, they're more understanding. Like, I keep reminding them we're all in a pandemic. We're all going through this, not just you.
It's a great point, and again, Leah, your message board or your posts, and emphasizing that we don't get you, we don't, and I think it's important to recognize that we have to speak up in this time where we're seeing many students with their head down on their phone. We have to hear your voices. We have to hear if you're okay or if you're not okay, and how can we help. Mr. Venture, is there any other questions?
Yeah, there is actually.
Okay.
What were you thinking and or feeling during the periods of social unrest? Again, not directed at anybody in particular, but
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
to the panel. And where do we go from here, and how do we cope with that now?
Sure, and that's a great question. I mean, and that is something that, in its own time without pandemic, was a huge thing. And so I'd be curious to hear what anyone has to say as a student, as a mom, as educators. We had a lot of civil unrest, and there were some months where I think a lot of cities and even states had some very scary times of uncertainty. So does anyone have any thoughts or feelings of that? I'm sure we have thoughts. Does anyone want to share any thoughts or feelings on that? It's okay
I
if you
had
don't.
a couple of my children wanted to go out and protest when protesting was taking place, going to the city hall and to the police department, and I was a little fearful of that, not knowing what could happen. Their dad went, and I think one of the kids wound up going, and we were, sad. It was more sad for us, I would say. Not angry, but sad, because we're a loving family. We just want a kumbaya. We know that's not going to always happen, but it was just more sad for us. But we wanted to also participate in our own way to say that we're not happy with what's happening. Things do need to change, So I believe each child kind of did their own thing as to what they want, to be part of that, to help, to bring a voice to, hopefully bringing change. Or for myself, just supported them and tell them be safe. I'm more of a laid back parent. I think I let them be them. I let them be themselves, and allow them to explore, because that's where you learn in life, but also be safe at the same time. So I think we shared how saddening it was for us to, as a country, to be experiencing this.
Now, you talk about safety. Were you ever worried about your children's safety? When it's really that civil unrest started kind of rising to a boiling point and staying there for a while. Maybe not so much in Niagara Falls, but Buffalo, we had some very big protests, and other parts of the country, they were very, very big.
Yeah, I had downloaded the app, 360 Life or Life 360, so I can see where everyone's whereabouts are. And that's a great app, because as a parent, so I'm like, okay, where are you at? I don't see you. Why are you, where are you going, or why didn't you call me? So it was a way for me to keep track of all the kids, because working and some they were working too, working or playing basketball outside with their friends, and when it was summertime. So yeah, it was just, I think it was just knowing that we stayed in communication. I was okay. I didn't over worry myself or panic. And that's why I don't like to panic about these things. I always like to just basically just trust God that know that the kids will be okay, but also have this app
Yeah.
in case I don't,
that's wonderful.
you know, I don't hear from them. I'm like, hey, where are you at? Okay, oh, he's here. Okay, we're okay.
I wanted to
Got
go
an
to
app.
the-
Right.
I
Yeah.
wanted to go to the protest because my dad went, and my dad was like, "Yeah, come on out here. We could do the posters." It is my mom's week. I said, "Mom, can I go?" No, don't even step out the house. Don't even step out. We had Ring too, so she's seen right when you walk out the house, and ding your phone right there. And I was like, okay, now I'll just watch your review, watching the lives, watch my dad. Yeah, go on. I'm like, okay, Mom, I'll just.
Yeah.
She just wouldn't let me.
So Leah, from a student and a young black woman's point of view, you know, how did you feel about it? You know, and what do you still feel about it? Because I don't think we're really settled. We haven't settled anything right now.
It was heartbreaking more of than angry. I did get angry at one point too. I really wanted to go protest. But it was heartbreaking to just see someone just getting killed for the color of their skin. It was a lot. It's like, and then everyone in the school, everyone's posting. We have to protest. We have to get out there. We're gonna do walks and we're gonna do. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of that. Even though couldn't go, she was not letting me go anywhere out there. But it was really heartbreaking. It was.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sure, I think it was heartbreaking for all of us, but especially as a younger adult, you know, moving into adulthood, you're seeing a lot. And you know, what were your thoughts? You know,
I
both
also
you-
thought it was
you know,
heartbreaking, and it was hard because like we're in the middle of a pandemic. We can't like I wanted to go out as well, but I was also scared. Like I was like, oh, I don't want to get COVID like a few of my friends would to the march in August, and I'm like, I really want to go, but like, do I want to sacrifice possibly getting COVID to go? So that was like my struggle with it all, and then like the social media aspect, like. We're in a pandemic, we can't go anywhere, so of course we're on social media and just seeing all the posts on Facebook, and that was kind of overwhelming.
Do you think the having to stay at home, the social media posts, do you think that stoked the flame, or do you think that helped create better conversation? And that's kind of
I
open
think
to
it
anyone.
helped create better conversation in my eyes.
Yeah,
Because I feel like if we weren't home, a lot of people probably would just not pay attention to it.
yeah. You know, Leah, what are your thoughts? I mean, because I guess from a younger perspective, you said there was a lot of social media, a lot of Facebook Lives, things like that. Do you think that helped frame your opinion, or helped frame how you wanted things to be differently, or do you think that just made you more angry, as you originally said?
More angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it really got all in with everything, especially with the cabin fever. You're not really out. You're not really going anywhere. So you're already angry. And then you see people dying from COVID, even more angry. And then you're seeing people dying from all these movements, even more angry. And so it's all really bottled up anger. And so then when you go out there and you're seeing people, anything could really just switch you off. And now you're angry at them and you're arguing with strangers and you're just going out. It really changes some people when
Sure.
you're just bottled up like that.
And Mom, how do you feel? Because you were still working with new customers, new clients. So, you know, I imagine there's people that came with their opinions occasionally, or
Yeah.
you know, you had to kind of tiptoe between professional and personal feelings.
I've always been the type of person where I let people be who they are, but if the opportunity presented itself for me to share my thoughts in a respectful way, or just give them another way of thinking, another way of seeing things, I would do it that way. But yeah, I heard it all, and it's like I said, it was just sad because when someone thinks that something is truth in their mind, how do you really change that? You know, because that's their truth. That's what they believe. But one thing I've always shared with people, I can show you better than I can tell you. Let me show you how to be kind to somebody. Let me show you how to respect somebody's opinion, or let me show you why this, you know, this matters to this person to do it this way, or you know. So, you know, you just tread lightly, and that's what I do. I strive to tread lightly, just to be respectful, and I believe if you give respect, respect comes back to you. So. That's what I've always tried to do and teach them.
I was saying, and that's an incredibly high road to walk on.
Yeah, it really is.
Did it get hard at some points?
Let me think. It could have. Yeah, it could have. I mean, I think I could be very opinionated. She got it honest. So she got it from somebody, no. But yeah, I think I have. But I think at the end of that conversation, it was always still walked away okay.
Yeah.
You know, it was never no animosity, no, no bitterness or anything. It's just like, okay, we'll just respect each other's opinions and just walk
Yeah.
away.
My mom will always say warning before destruction before she
Oh,
gets
she
a
will.
little mean because she's really a nice person, and then we're arguing.
Oh,
Okay,
that, yeah.
stop. I'm trying to tell you to stop right now. And then we keep arguing. This is my last straw. I'm trying to tell you to stop. And then you just keep arguing. Doesn't even say anything. Phone, gone. Bring the PlayStation down. Bring everything down. Don't ask me for
Go to your
anything.
room.
Don't ask me for anything. It's just no.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Mrs. Jones does in meetings with me. She takes my stuff away.
Yeah, well, when you talk about that, I was thinking about like work, but with kids, yeah, it is different. With them, I just, forgive me, I would say, you're not killing me. You're not going to have my blood pressure up high. You're not going to have me out here looking crazy. No, listen, I'm not playing with this. I mean, I'm your parent. I'm not your friend.
yeah.
I'm your parent. So as a parent, let me teach you,
Yeah.
and there is discipline, and the discipline I use, the things that matter.
Yeah.
Those cell phones, those remote controls, they all matter. So, and I just send them to their room, but they know. But the one question you said that someone had asked, how did we handle some hard times? Like I had shared earlier, we had to separate, and something that's good if you have the opportunity where you can send your child or away to a family member or a friend's house just to get away for a minute and just clear your minds, and then send them to someone that that's going to speak the same language you're speaking as a parent, because you can send them somebody's house and they're like, oh yeah, your mom's horrible, and no, you want someone that's going to be able to teach them the same principles or values that you think or believe in for your children. So I think that helps a lot too. But yeah, they know I don't usually get that upset. She knows me. I try to keep a even kilter, but I can go there. They've seen that. But then I was also spoiled because from kindergarten, like from just youth, all the kids in elementary on up were honor students, and I'm grateful for that. So I was spoiled. They always did their work. So when COVID hit, I'm like, you're not doing your work? I never had to look over your shoulders before. They always did their work. Now I'm like, show me your, forgive me. I know they've had trainings on how to go on the portal. I'll just say, send me a screenshot of your grades. That's the kind of parent I am. Send me a screenshot. And like, okay, everybody's good. Okay, except for one. Oh, Lord, we're going to work on this one. So I've been a little spoiled with it. But I'm so grateful that having Leah, as you see, is my backup to always keep everybody in line and letting me know when, okay, it's time for Mom to put her foot down,
Well, I hear throughout the whole conversation, you have discipline, not just in behaviors, but discipline in keeping routines and structures, and really keeping the right mindset. And I'm really impressed with that. And Leah, you guys keeping that mindset of we have to get through this, we have to move forward. Thinking of our student body, our student population, do you think it's that lack of routine or that lack of discipline, and not to be able to admit that they need to go to school 4 days a week, or do the work if they're going to only be 2 days a week? Do you think it's that lack of discipline or structure that's really impeding our students' success?
I think I don't want to call it discipline. I would call it structure, though, because it's very hard to, there's so many more fun things to do at home. You can watch TV, you can play video games, you can sleep, you can do whatever. But if you're in school, you're going to do the work because you're here. Yeah. So it's very hard for a student to set up a structured day. It really is. And without a lot of support, and I don't know how many of our kids have that support, plus you have siblings at home. If you have 3 or 4 kids, younger kids running around, and I don't know how I give the elementary people a ton of credit to do online education with young kids. That's got to be really hard.
Sure.
That's got to be tough. So I do think it's a structural. I think we, if this was going to go forward, I think somehow we would have to figure out a way to help people get that structure at home.
And it's funny, you talked about, fun things to do, but some of the things you emphasized were the hurdles that our kids have to face
Right.
just to come to school, right? And I look
Yeah.
to Kashara, because she works with some of our kids who really have had a very hard time with those struggles. Is that, are those hurdles bigger than we really know?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like kids are dealing with a lot at home, like stuff that you just can't imagine like a 17-year-old kid has to deal with, like especially like during the pandemic. A lot of my students are getting kicked out, so now they're trying to figure out where they're going to stay at, who are they going to stay with, and then still come to school
Yeah,
or even do remote work. So that's hard
Sure.
in itself.
yeah. Mr. Ventry, we have some more questions?
Yeah, this one I was gonna say we should end on it, but then another one came in.
That we should end on
they're
that
both
one?
they're both good questions to end on actually because
Okay.
they're a little bit fun. The one is, did you increase your online shopping when we're shut down? What'd you buy? What'd you watch? So kind of maybe could go around and ask everyone.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, if you can give one word of advice on how to get through COVID, what would you tell them? So maybe just go around for
Yes,
each of those. 'Cause
I
we have
think
a
that's
few
great.
minutes left.
Yeah, I think, and we have a few minutes left, so I guess our closing remarks will be 2 questions. Did online shopping increase?
Yeah.
And-
or
and
what
just-
did you turn to?
Yeah, what did you turn to? And, what was the other one about? Just,
One word of advice to get through COVID.
One word of
If you can
advice.
give one word of advice to people, what would you tell them?
so let's start with the family here. Did Amazon come knocking at the door?
The shopping increased so much because I started working at the falls in July, back working again. Then you can't really go anywhere to shop or just spend your money or just like try to think to save. I was at home all the time, just on my phone. Oh, that is really pretty. I have to get it. Mom is seeing, why is all these packages coming in? Why are you spending
Yeah.
so? You need to start saving your money. You need to start. And I'm like, these are really nice, though. I really need to get these. I really need to get these, and that's how it really was. I was spending everything, everything.
We're glad I'm sure Mom was glad you were back to school 4 days a week.
I was excited to stop seeing packages showing up on the porch. But yeah, it wasn't. Did I shop? I think we did a little bit. I did.
Oh,
a little
yeah,
bit.
we
I
did.
did. Yeah. So I think we did take advantage of the sales that they were hitting from that would pop up on our phones, and so that was a little. But now it's calmed down, so we're thankful for that. But one word to take away from this. One word.
One word of advice for people.
One word of advice. Okay.
Yeah. To get through.
For
To help them
mine,
get through.
it would be, it's not just about you. It's about everyone, too, because everyone's going through it. So you can't just think about yourself in this, too. If someone says something, you have to think where they're coming from. You have to be aware about everyone's feelings and emotions.
What she said.
So we're giving you 3 words, Leah. You're not alone.
Shopping and words of advice. Who wants to go?
I'll go first. So
Okay.
in the beginning, I wasn't really shopping too much. I was saving a lot of money, but towards like June, July, the packages were coming in. I found this like discount Amazon group on Facebook, and they give you like coupon codes, and I couldn't stop buying just random stuff. I'm like gel pens for my students when we go back to school. I bought a tripod. Like it was just random things. But now I'm calmed down. I don't do too much online shopping anymore. But a word to take away, self-care. Just try to take care of yourself. We're still in a pandemic. Don't be too hard on yourself. I guess that's a few words.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay, that's good advice.
So-
I'm not really a big shopper, and in the beginning, I didn't buy a lot of things online. At Christmas, I got a little crazy. That was bad. But I would say no. I did enjoy the idea that you could have it all delivered to your house. That was awesome. I hate grocery shopping, so I did that. Delivery, it was wonderful. I really liked it. So I wasn't too bad shopping-wise. What did I turn to? I am not much of a TV person, but I watched Suits. I watched like the whole thing. There's like 7 seasons.
A lot of binge watching.
Oh, it was bad.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Schitt's Creek. That was a funny show. That was really uplifting. It was nice not to see something so. But I did watch more TV than I usually watch. What advice would I give? I would think, I agree with what both of you said. I think those are great things to focus on. And I think it's important to, I don't know, like find a balance somewhere, a balance between pushing yourself to go do things that maybe you're afraid to do, because we've all been ingrained with this fear for, to go out, and still being safe. It's really a tough balance. That's all I would say.
So thank you so much for all four of you. This was a wonderful conversation. I hope we continue this even off the cameras. For people at home, thank you so much for watching. We know that this has been a trying year. Just know that there's people out there that are willing to help. If you're ever feeling upset or depressed, our local crisis service line is 285-3515. Again, the number is 285-3515. Reach out, speak to people, speak to your friends, speak to your family members, speak to your teachers. We're here for you, we want to help you, and we'll get through this. Thank you everyone for watching for our third Talking Tuesday, and we'll see you next month. Have a great night.